How are y'all doing? This is Tommy Charles here again at the Speakers of Organization LLC, and I also want to let you all know that this right here is a free money giveaway video. I made a mistake. I don't know what I was thinking about, but I made a mistake giving my email out before. I was saying Truth Speaker Tommy Charles, but to win any money on any of the videos that we have, email me at tommycharles@gmail.com, or you can email me at the Speakers of Organization LLC. The Speakers of Organization at yahoo.com is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so let me say this again real quick. This is a free money giveaway video. We're going to be giving out money in this video also. We're going to give $100 to the person that answers the questions that we're going to ask somewhere throughout this video. Okay, so you can email me at tommycharles@gmail.com, or you can email me at the Speakers of Organization yahoo.com, and the first person that email me the video will receive the $100. Just email me the answer along with your name and address, and please don't forget your zip code. Today we're going to do a video about racism, prejudism in America. I'm going to tell what the true meaning and the true definition of racism, but everybody can identify with the word racism. But we're going to deal with prejudism as being who we call the black people in America, and the things that we have to go through. Are there answers that can be answered to lower the volume of racism, or can it be done away with totally? We want to just have a discussion, and with me I have Jeff Hairston, author Jeff Hairston. That's what I should say, because he is the author of 2 books. And then I have to my right James LaFleur. So hey James and Jeff, we're going to start this conversation off dealing with racism in America, because we want the people to, even though we say people use the terminology of bringing it to the attention of the people, they already know. It may bring more attention to it by talking about it, but we need to find solutions or what can happen to eliminate it or bring it to a lower volume. Also, we want to talk about our experiences as dealing with prejudice, as living in America as who is called the black man. And you all know, if you watch my other videos, we are the true Hebrews of Israel, according to the scriptures. And there's a lot of documentary out there, but this video is not for that. But I do challenge you and ask you to start reading books and go on YouTube and type in who the true Hebrews are. But we're going to talk about the prejudice that goes on in America. So, starting with you, James LaFleur.
You said you had a brief definition of
racism. Okay, right. Okay. Let me say. Okay, everybody identify with the word racism as a person what goes on like with us as who the world called black people. But the true definition of the word racism is a group of people who's racing to get control of an entity. You can say the water industry, the electric industry, government, or whatever. That's the true definition of the word racism. It's a group of people who's racing to get control of an entity. That's racism. Now, prejudice is anything that I can be prejudiced against a color, prejudice against a chair, an animal. That's prejudice. I remember I had a family member one time, and I was, because I'm more of a technical person, and I don't feel bad about that, because the Most High God is a technical person. Mm-hmm. A technical God. Mm-hmm. And that's what He is. So I was trying to tell a family member of mine one time what the true definition of the word racism is, and when I started telling him, he was like, he didn't want to hear. You know what I'm saying? But the scripture is against, God is against, in the scriptures, God says He's against a person that denies knowledge. Because knowledge is out here. All you have to do is just grab it. That's all you got to do is just grab it and learn it. The scriptures say, my people perish for a lack of knowledge. Not knowledge having a lack of knowledge is no excuse according to the Most High God. So I want you to speak a little, start off with James. I want you to speak a little on what you think about prejudism.
Okay. I've experienced prejudice actions against me personally as a kid coming up. I'm 46, so I've seen a lot. I remember when they was busing back in 80, 81, 82 in Chicago. I happened to go to a school called Alexander, well, I went to Abraham Lincoln School, and there was another school called Alexander Graham Bell. Well, most of the African Americans, black, whatever they want to call us, we was at the Abraham Lincoln School, how ironic, and the white kids was at the Alexander Graham Bell, and they decided to bus us to integrate the school system. Just as Jeff was saying on the last video, integration brought more harm to us than it did good. They bused us from the black school, predominantly black, African American, whatever, cultural school, to Alexander Graham Bell. Well, when we on the buses, we pulling up to the school, and you see all of these Caucasian people standing outside, and they got signs up, "Go home, nigger." They got signs up, they basically saying they don't want us here. They spitting, throwing eggs at our buses and stuff like that. At that time, I was an 8-year-old, 9-year-old boy, and to see the hatred on people, you know, they had to have the police out there. They had to have, you know, basically ready for a riot. And all we trying to do is get education. I didn't choose to get bused. They choose to bus me and take me to that new location. For me, I never hated anybody, especially because of their color. I mean, why would I hate someone because of their color? As a little kid, I knew better. I was taught better. Even though my mom was born in the racist South in Mississippi and raised in Mississippi, and she saw, you know, a lot of negative actions during the civil rights movements and things like that. She saw it and experienced it for herself, and she had a dislike, you know, for those things that happened to her, and it gave her a dislike for Caucasian people. But she still taught me love. She never taught me to hate anyone. So I believe that prejudice comes not because we just learned it. We are taught that. We're taught it at home. I remember a time that my mom told me, she said this, and because she had a dislike for Caucasian white people, she said, "Don't bring a white woman home." And I said, "Mom," at 9, 10 years old, I said, "Mom, I'll marry who I want to marry." I said, "It's about love, it's not about their color." Now, I knew that how my mama felt, but at the same time, I knew in my heart as a kid that this color thing shouldn't even matter. To that regard, to that respect. That's a whole nother subject. I'm not going to go there, but the point is, I knew at that age that I shouldn't have a dislike for people just because of their color. So at this time in my life, I still don't have a dislike because she didn't breed me with that. She didn't say, "You don't like white people, I don't like people, you ain't gonna like them." Like some people, that I was watching Jackie Robinson's story last night, and the little kid was seeing them call Jackie Robinson nigger, 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 all this kind of stuff. The other guy, the coach on the other team, he was signing to mess him up while he was batting. And the little kid was seeing him, and the kid was disturbed by it. And all of a sudden, the kid said at one time out of his mouth, "Nigger." Then he just kept saying it, "I don't want you nigger, nigger." So he was disturbed by it, and you saw the disturbance on his face that they shouldn't be doing it, but that kid began to assimilate to what was going on around him. And the kids began to hate because that's what was going on around them. So I believe assimilation is a part of it. When we get into those groups of people, I might say at my job that I got white friends, black friends, and all that kind of stuff, but then I get with my black crowd and I'm talking about white people. I get with my white crowd and I'm talking about black people. So assimilation calls you to do that. That's why your heart got to be right. Even though I was treated like that as a little kid, I got another incident too, but this is just one of the incidents. I'll let them speak. But even though I was treated like that, I still didn't go in that school hating white people or thought that all white people were bad. I believe the core of us as Hebrew Israelites, the core of us as Hebrews, we're very loving and kind people. And we've taken a lot of nonsense and negativity and hurt and our people being killed. We've took a lot, and we still have that love. That's what we're built on. We're not built on hate. We can dislike some things, but we're not built on hate. You do what's wrong, and we still come back. You know, so I believe that, like I said, through assimilation, that's where the prejudice come from, and it's taught. It's taught at home, it's taught by parents, it's taught through ignorance, because they were taught that, you know, so, but I choose not to be that.
Hey, Jeff, can you speak a little about what you've been through? I know what you said before we started this video, but just, I mean, any area that you want to speak about?
Okay, you know, I believe that during, you know, our people were bought over, our ancestors were bought over here on slave ships, and so therefore we had our identity when we first reached the North Americas, but we lost our identity. Our identity was stripped.
Yes.
And so, you know, when they talk about the word racism, you know, a lot of people are prejudiced. A lot of people, they concentrate on their race. And so, you know, and we find out that in America, you know, we lost our identity. So we took on the identity of another race.
Right.
And so therefore, but when you really look at the whole picture, you find that the Chinese people take care of the Chinese people.
Right.
You find out that every other race is focused on their race.
Right.
They're focused on their economy. They focus on their schools, their banks.
Right.
But we are the only people that still have an identity crisis, that we don't have an identity to identify with so that we can be racist ourselves.
Right.
Being racist is not really a bad word. It's really saying that you can put your race first. It's really saying that you do your homework first. It's saying that you take care of your home first. And after I get my home built up, then we'll come out and try to help somebody else's home. But we can't, you know, my mama told me a long time ago when I was a grown man, you know, when I was sitting on the front porch with my mom before she passed away. And she said, Jeffrey, she said, you can't help nobody else until you first help yourself.
Right.
So we need to learn as a people to help ourselves first. And I believe if we help ourselves first, and then a lot of people say that's racist, but that's not really racist.
Not at all.
That's just saying we're going to build our foundation first,
Right.
and then we'll be more respected
Right.
in America.
Right.
Because nobody, you know, even the scripture talk about a poor man. Nobody respects a person that's poor.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So therefore, if the only thing that America really respects is the mighty dollar.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So if we get our economics and our economy right, and we got to be a little racist at the time. You know,
Right,
we do that.
right,
We
right.
concentrate on our
Most
race
definitely. Right.
and get that straight
I
down.
like what he just said. What he said, if you go with the definition of racism, we're talking about racism and we're talking about prejudice, but if you look at the definition of, the true definition of racism, then it's okay to be a little racist. It's okay. It's okay to be a little racist. It's the prejudice word that we're worried about. Right or wrong?
That's
Yeah,
right.
right. Yeah, you're right what you're saying. You're right.
It's the prejudice word that we're,
right.
that's the negative word. But when you're there to build your people up, if it's Caucasians building up business for
That's right.
Caucasians, that's fine.
Right.
If it's Chinese building up business for Chinese, that's fine. If it's Korean, whatever it is, your nationality, and you're building up your people and you're trying to help your people, if that's your racism, or that's you being racist, then that's fine. But it's when you hate on other people.
Right.
It's that prejudice part that come in when you do everything you can do to keep another person down. Then that's where we find the problem. And I like what you said about that.
Now my view might be a little different. Might be a little more severe.
Go ahead, my brother.
You know what I'm saying? So you know how I live.
Say it the way you
Go
feel.
ahead, my brother. Say it the way you
But
see it.
just I'm gonna say something. Real quick. When I was coming up, my mother never talked to us about prejudism. I knew I was looking at people on television that looked different from me, but she never talked to us about it. I started experiencing prejudism once I got older, and I'd say become a teenager and started working at the age of like 15, 16, getting jobs at the car wash. I was in the suburbs of Dearborn in Detroit. Dearborn, that's right outside of Detroit. I used to work at this car wash called Fairlane. I used to get, I was in high school, working, going to Mackenzie High School on Wyoming. They tore it down since then. And I used to catch the Wyoming bus or either walk to Michigan Avenue, and then I'll walk up Michigan Avenue to the corner of Oakland and Michigan. Over in Dearborn, I worked at a car wash, so there was a lot of Caucasian Europeans that worked there. And during that time, that's when Roots first came out.
I remember.
Yeah, and so the people there, those other teenagers there, thought that they can call me Toby because my first name was Tommy, and I used to tell them, don't call me Toby, you know, and it got to the point where they thought it was funny in a joke, and they kept calling me Toby. So I ended up slinging some of them around against cars, and the owners came out there, and, hey, what's going on? You know, and he was about to fire me. And that's when I had to explain to them, hey, they keep calling me Toby, you know, and I told them about Roots or whatever. But this is what I want to say about Prejudism. In my view, we've been stripped from our identity since we've been in this country. It's said that it took 64 years for them to totally strip us and to beat out of us and to put that amount of fear in us where our history, our language, and all of that, it was just gone. So now, I have to ask that 450 plus years have passed since slavery, or since slavery started, and there has been no peace and rest since then. This is 2017 right now. And I'm going to tell you, 2018, and mark my words, 2030, mark my words, 2050, mark my words, we're going to still be in the same situation. So you're going to tell me out of 450 years, we're still singing the same song. We're still now let me say this real quick, and I'm not saying this out of softness, but I'm just saying this out of truth. Mm-hmm. All Caucasians and Europeans and Asian people are not bad people. Because I know some, and I know some are real, some are true, genuinely, you see? But the system that the Caucasians and Europeans own are against us, against our cities that we live in, against our neighborhoods, and against us individually. Just look at the corporate world. How many are in management? How many of our people have so much fear in them that when they work in the corporate world, their terminology turns to more Caucasian, their dialect turns more towards Caucasian and European. Hey, you guys,
gotta assimilate.
We don't talk like that.
They gotta assimilate to make it.
Exactly, to fit in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a lot of stuff that goes on because of the system that's against us. And there's some of us that say, you know what? I'm gonna be my own person, deal with my own people, research my own research of who I am as an individual, and I'm gonna be what I am by a bloodline. And then there's some of us that say, you know what? I'm gonna make life better for me, and I'm gonna be more like other cultures or the dominant culture, so I can fit in and move up the ladder, whether it's in the corporate world or not. You see? But when we do that, we're not making it better for our children. And then let me say this, and I'm going to be quiet, because there's a lot I can say. I can talk about this all day. I'm going to say this. To be honest with you, we shouldn't even be integrated together. We should really have our own land, live among our own people, dealing with our own problems within us, because as long as we are mixed together, living in the same land, I promise you, and just watch the time. So it doesn't matter if you get upset what I'm saying or whatever, but it's true. And look at 400, how you know how many people came on this earth and lived and died in 450 years? And we're still saying the same thing today. So that's the proof alone. But let another 50, 100 years go by. As long as we're in the same land, there's never going to be no true peace.
Well, I have something to say on that. Dealing with Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy talks about the chapter 28. It lets us know, we want to know where it started at. It started at our disobedience to God and not our...
Say that loud, brother.
It started with our disobedience to God, as a people. We disobeyed. We started worshiping idols. We want to do it
Talking about
our
the
way.
Hebrews, right? The Hebrews,
Yes,
Israelites,
yes.
which we are.
So that's what put us here. That's why we were stripped of everything. That's why we've been stripped of our identity. That's why we've been stripped of our wealth and riches and everything that had us prominent. Now we're a byword unto the nations, and everybody look at us. Not the Africans, they look at us.
Say what, nigga? That's a byword.
Yeah.
I had to say that because that's a byword.
They look at us. They look at us like we're the lost people. Like, look at them, like they be like shaking their head at us. They like, wow, them black people. Yeah. So we don't even have. They call us black people. That's a color. That's not a nationality.
Right.
They don't call the Asians yellow people.
No.
So why we got to be called black people?
Right.
What am I? I had to come from somewhere,
Right.
but like you said, they don't want you to know who you are.
Right.
So they strip that from you, but we know who we are.
Right.
Deuteronomy 28 talks about, because if you do this, you're going to be cursed. People don't want to hear that. Well, we're not cursed because we believe in Jesus.
Deuteronomy,
I believe in
28th
Jesus,
chapter.
but as a nation, we were cursed because we didn't serve God. We decided to serve idols.
Right.
We intermixed. We began to serve the idols of other people,
Right.
and we shouldn't have did that. And that's why we ended up on those slave ships. People don't want to hear that, but that is the truth. So that's how we got there. It's because of us. It ain't because of them.
Right.
So we can be mad at white people. We can be mad at everybody else, but it ain't because of them why we got here.
That's right.
That's the result of our actions.
Most High God's doing because of our disobedience.
It's
right.
God's doing because of our disobedience.
Let me say something real quick. Okay, I had this brother right here, Jeff Harrison. I want you to tell, this fella used to be in the Nation of Islam. Used to be an FOI in the Nation of Islam. I always tell people about Jeff. Jeff for years was telling me, he said, Charles, you all are not, he said, the people that live in Israel right now are not the original Hebrews that we read in the Bible. And it used to always go on one ear and out the other because I looked at him, okay, he was in the Nation of Islam, the condition of our people on the earth. We work the bottom jobs on the endless planet, majority of us. And he's just angry and he's just trying to put us up. But it took one day for, it was
African guy.
Brother LaFleur, who had an African friend from Nigeria.
Named Alex.
Named Alex.
Ghana.
Alex.
Yeah.
Alex.
Yeah.
And Jeff and me and this African fella from Nigeria who was in the back seat, we were driving to Delaware. And I can't remember how that conversation came up. But that fella started talking the same thing that this brother right here, Jeff, was telling me for years. Let me tell you something. It took a fella from Africa to tell me that we are not from the same bloodline. He said, why do you think Africans come over here and don't mingle with us? Because we're not too different. We said, we're not of your bloodline. He said, he told me, this is what the African fellow from Nigeria told me. He said, you all are the Hebrews of the Bible. He said, they teach us that in our schools over in Africa. It took for the fella in Africa and Nigeria to talk to me and mention that and start saying a whole bunch of other stuff in that car that I can't get into because of our time, that this brother right here who is of my own bloodline was telling me before, and I wouldn't listen to him. And it was going in, and I know this fella's word is concrete. This is a thorough fella right here. He's not a liar, he's not a deceiver. As a matter of fact, he's also a prophet. And I'll go into other videos how God talked to him where he saved my life through our prayer. So I know what I'm talking about. And when I say we're the Hebrews, we're the Hebrews. And that's why we're in the condition in America, which is the second Egypt. This is the second Egypt that we live in now. And it's crazy because I remember being a child and reading it when they used to talk about how Egypt went in slavery and Pharaoh and all that. And I used to wonder, how was it like? When I was a child, what was that like living in the land?
Now you know.
And now I know. And in truth, this is the second Egypt that we live in now. That's why we're getting persecuted against. That's why we don't own anything. That's why we got a lot of thick prejudism. That's why we're getting killed. And our women are still, and our people are still not coming to God. Our women are out there twerking. You let the society and the entertainment industry dictate to you. You still serving other gods. And for you pastors that in the mega churches that's making it worse for it, just leading thousands of people, millions of people to hell. And those people are going to be held accountable by your blood. I don't care who you are.
That blood is on your
The
head.
blood of the people is on your hands for teaching truth. Now I can't speak against the
Teaching
church
lies.
because I know, and my truth belief is that the church was ordained and created by the Most High God through His Son. I can't take that away. Now when you got agents of Satan who in the form of human beings that's calling themselves pastors, elders, and bishops, and got 25,000 people, $8,000 people under their membership of a church. Matter of fact, a pastor is not even supposed to be nothing but a steward, because this God's church, and the pastor is just a steward, supposed to be a steward of Satan, and he's leading us to hell, leading everybody to hell. Speaking about prosperity. You're letting other cultures teach you against God because you're accepting their money. You see? So what can be done for us to get out this prejudice? I already said our prejudice within this country will never be over as long as we're still in this country.
Well, I believe.
Go ahead. Let me jump in there for 1 second. What I want to do is I want to try to draw a picture, because we're not making excuses, for our people. We're not making excuses.
Right.
This is not an excuse session that we have no hope.
Right.
Because we have hope. But let me just try to draw a picture, because you were talking about us being the true Hebrew Israelites. And a lot of people find themselves, when they look at Egypt, they look at Egypt as people say, well, God brought us out of Egypt. And Egypt is really a bad place. But really, Egypt is not a bad place.
Right.
Because Egypt is really where a lot of it started from.
Right.
Because if you take a look at Egypt, you will find out that you have the Sphinx of Giza. You have if you look up there, you see the head of Afroic features of black men in Egypt.
Right.
They let us know that they took pictures of who the Israelites was and left the photographs in Egypt so that we could look back and see. And anybody that can see that with any kind of common sense know that our identity was stolen. I have a book at home called The Stolen Legacy. Somebody stole our complete legacy away from us as a people. But if you got to understand something, if you want to build our people up as a people, you got to understand something. If you take a people that is able to build a pyramid, that's able to build the Sphinx, that's able to build Egypt the way they built it, without caterpillars, without bulldozers, they were the architects of Egypt. Right. Then you have to give them credit for science. You have to give our people credit for mathematics. You have to give our people credit for architecture and all of these things. So we are a strong people, and I look at it from a light that now is the time for us to start building. You know what I'm saying? We need to start building from here. We need to. I'm not saying forget about the past, but we need to build from here and begin to build our empire. Maybe 50 years from now, we can recover as a people. You see what I'm saying? But at the same time, in order to do that, we got to get a little racist. We got to concentrate on our race and stop worrying about everybody else's race in order to do that.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? He said we need to start concentrating on our race. We need to start doing some stuff for each other. Come together. Being one.
Right.
And when we do that, then everybody else is going to see that. And we'll get more respect.
More respect.
They're not going to be killing us in the streets like that. But the problem is, we're against each other. We have bought into Willie Lynch. He gave them some principles. If you look him up, he gave the white slave owner principles that if they follow those tactics, they can keep us against each other. To this day, we're against each other. We're more racist and prejudiced, rather, against each other because one is lighter than the other. His nose is bigger than mine. His hair is nappy. I got the long hair. I got the curly hair. Well, I'm light skinned. I'm dark skinned. We're more racist against each other than they are. So we're the problem. So we need to start with each other first. Let's love each other. Let's love each other. Yeah, we can love everybody else too, but let's love each other the right way. Let's stop killing each other.
Right.
We've killed more people in the streets of Chicago as what they call black on black crime than the police have killed. Baltimore, Chicago, all the major cities. So we're worried about what the police are doing, but why are we picking them because of all the black on black crime?
Right.
So that's how we start. That's how we stop this, and that's how we make the change. One person at a time.
Right. I want to piggyback a little on what Jeff said because I can't focus and say the black on black crime because we're only 12% of the population, but you have more what they call white, I'm gonna say Caucasian on Caucasian, European on European crime, then you have black on black crime. But what has to be understood is that the systems that the media, that own the media, the newspapers and all of that type of stuff that feed the internet stuff, the people that own that type of stuff are who you call Jews, Caucasian, European people. So when you have a system that don't like us, they put that focus on black crime. See, what it is, if me and you live together, and I mean in the same area all the time, so every day I come out, I see you two fellas. Some days I'm gonna come out not feeling good. If you feel like you did something against me, I'm gonna commit my crime on him and not over them that live way over there. You understand? And that's how, and it's the same thing in the Caucasian European, where when they live around each other, they commit the crime. But the most crimes that's focused is on us because we are, that's why even when it comes down to the dark races, like the countries that's on the continent of what they call Africa. That's what you understand what I'm saying? The people, you really commit your crimes against the people that you're near, majority of the time. But we live in a society that's not owned and operated by us.
What he's saying is they'll put in the media where you'll see that it'll make it look like it's more crime in the African American communities, but not focusing that, yeah, that was a white guy out there that just went in there and shot up the school.
Right. Or went in there and shot up a family.
Or shot up a family, or that white guy beat up his wife, or that white guy did this, but they'll make it seem like that the only crime is in our community, and they'll make us look bad.
Right.
And that's the perception that the world will get of us. So when people come on vacation and they come to America, they try to stay away from the black neighborhoods, you know, but they'll make sure they stay in those affluent areas and stay away from us. So because of the view that they got because of the media. So
you know, and I like this forum because it's time that we come out and start talking, brainstorming. Because if we never get it out in the open, then we can't solve the problem. And you know, so some of the major problems that we have, you know, within our own community, you know what I'm saying? Like he said, we killing each other. We can't look at another race and say what they are doing because they really ain't. This day and time, I told somebody the other day, really they ain't doing nothing to us. We doing it to ourselves. But see, it's ingrained. It's a mindset. You know, it's a mindset. We live in, a lot of times in our communities, we're living in self-destruction. You know what I'm saying? Because you have a destructive mindset, you can only self-destruct. You know what I'm saying? But it's time that we talk about it and begin to turn this thing around. Because there is a turnaround. There is a turnaround, but because the turnaround is taking so slow, because that spirit of fear has been put in our people. But God has not given us a spirit of fear, but a power, love, and a sound mind. He didn't give us no fear. Amen. It's time for us to stand up against fear.
So, and let me ask y'all a question. So, what do you think as far as God's view on a person that commit such evil crimes as prejudism? I mean, just like like when you got a people that like when you have a people that rape your children, hate you, hang you, all these devious, evil crimes that's committed, these terrorist crimes that has been committed by our people. Do God love them, and when they die, are they going to be in the presence of the Most High?
They're going to be in
His, if they don't repent.
They're going to be in His presence for judgment. That's why they will be in His presence. The Bible says every knee shall bow and every tongue confess. Right. So those that do those evil things, they not going to see heaven. They'll see it when they go before the Father and they have to say yeah, Jesus is Lord, but then He's going to still judge them because He is a righteous judge. I'm not happy about any of that. I'm not happy about anybody going into the outer darkness. But God is a righteous judge, and He has to make that. He made us, and He get the final say. How can the pot say to the potter what to do? So those people that do those evil things, they still go to church, they still say hallelujah and praise the Lord, and they still giving tithe and offerings and things like that. That you can't pay your way to heaven when your heart is evil, and God know the heart. God don't judge the outward like man do. God judged the heart. So those people with those evil intents and those evil ways, read Proverbs 31. I mean, Psalms 31 and Psalms 37. It talks about the evildoer and us not worrying about, not being fretful because of the evildoer, because God got that. So those are good scriptures to read. Psalms 31 and Psalms 37. Read the whole chapter.